Chapter 5 of The Mystery of Cabin Island by Franklin W. Dixon. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 5. Mr. Hanley. The Hardy Boys heard the door of the living room open and saw two figures pass out into the hall. A moment later, the front door closed with a bang. There were footsteps, and then a small, kindly, gray-haired gentleman stood in the entrance of the reception room. Frank and Joe, in the meantime, were looking at one another in astonishment. They had recognized the voice of Mr. Jefferson's caller, and they had recognized the man himself as he passed in the hall. It was none other than the man who had ordered them away from Cabin Island. Elroy Jefferson was advancing toward them, his hand outstretched. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting, boys. You are Fenton Hardy's sons, I presume. Well, well, I'm glad to make your acquaintance. I didn't mean to make you wait, but my caller seemed insistent." He seemed rather disturbed and glanced back toward the door, shaking his head. "That fool can't take no for an answer," he muttered. Then, smiling, he turned toward the boys again. "I asked you to call here this morning because I wanted to thank you for getting my Pierce arrow back for me. I was traveling in Europe at the time, and I didn't know anything about the affair until I came back. I'm afraid you must have thought me very ungrateful." "Not at all, sir," said the boys politely. "Well, if I had been here at the time, you may be sure I would have expressed my appreciation at once. However, better late than never. I was away when the Automobile Club passed the hat for that reward." Elroy Jefferson referred to a reward which had been subscribed by various owners of cars which the Hardy Boys had recovered from the Shore Road thieves. "That's all right, sir," said Frank. "We weren't looking for any reward." I know, but you deserved one, and if you will allow me, I should like to give you a reward of my own." With that, he produced a wallet from his pocket and withdrew 2 crisp new bills, which he handed to the boys. The lads glanced at the money with surprise, for Elroy Jefferson had handed each a $100 bill. "Oh, we can't take this, Mr. Jefferson," protested Joe. "We've been very handsomely rewarded already, much more than we deserved." "I want you to take this money. My car was not insured and was worth a great deal more than that to me, and if it hadn't been for you two boys, I would have lost it." The boys protested, but Elroy Jefferson insisted, and finally they were forced to accept the reward. "Now," said Mr. Jefferson, "if there is anything else I can do for you at any time, don't hesitate to ask me." The boys looked at one another. "There is something we'd like to ask you," hesitated Frank. "That is, if we're not intruding." "What is it?" asked the antique dealer agreeably. "It's about the man who just left here." "Hanley? What about him?" "If you don't object to the question, does Mr. Hanley own Cabin Island?" Mr. Jefferson shook his head. "Certainly not. Why do you ask?" Frank then told him about the adventure of the previous day and related how Hanley had driven the 3 boys away from the island. We thought it was strange at the time, for we didn't think that the island had changed hands. Then, when we recognized Mr. Hanley as the chap who ordered us away, we thought we'd ask you about it." Elroy Jefferson was indignant. "Why, I never heard the like," he said testily. "He had no authority to order you away, none whatever. In fact, he had no right to be on the island himself. The whole place belongs to me." "He had no right to order us away, then?" "No right at all. The island is mine. Mr. Hanley, it seems, is anxious to buy it, but he hasn't bought it yet, and he won't buy it as long as the matter is in my hands. He came to me a few weeks ago and offered me $5,000 for the place." "That is a large sum for an island, isn't it?" said Frank. "More than the place is worth. He came back this morning and raised his offer. Wanted to give me $8,000 if I would sell. But I won't sell. I won't sell him the island at any price, and I've told him so. You see, when my wife and son were alive, they loved to go there in winter and summer, so Cabin Island has certain associations for me that cannot be estimated in terms of money. They are dead now, and I cannot bear to part with the place. The cabin was erected for the use of my family, and my wife and boy used to go there and watch the workmen building it, so I'm not at all inclined to turn the place over to strangers." "I see, sir," remarked Frank sympathetically. "I'm sorry if Mr. Hanley drove you away. He had no right to do that." "Of course, we had no right there in the first place," ventured Joe. "Just as much right as Hanley. Now, boys, I have no objection to letting you visit the island from time to time, if the place appeals to you, provided you don't disturb things." "We would be very careful." "I'm sure of that. Any time you want to visit Cabin Island, go right ahead, and if Mr. Hanley is there and has anything to say about it, you can tell him he has no authority and no right to be on the property. I can't imagine why he was prowling around there at all." "We were thinking of having an outing during the Christmas holidays," said Frank. "Our big difficulty was in finding a good camping place. Why couldn't we stay on Cabin Island, Mr. Jefferson? We could have our outing there, and at the same time we could look after your property." Elroy Jefferson nodded agreeably. "An outing, eh? Just you two boys?" "We have 2 or 3 of our chums along with us." "That would be fine. I envy you. A winter outing. I think Cabin Island would be ideal for that, and if Mr. Hanley is busying himself ordering people away from there, I imagine it wouldn't be a bad idea to have someone on the ground to look after things. You have my permission, boys. Go ahead and have your outing at Cabin Island." "That is mighty good of you, Mr. Jefferson," exclaimed Frank impulsively, and Joe echoed, "You bet." "Not at all. I know you can be depended on to leave things as you find them. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put the whole matter in your charge, and I'll turn over the keys of the cabin to you. I think you'll find it a very comfortable place." That was how the Hardy Boys and their chums received permission to hold their winter outing on Cabin Island. End of chapter 5.